What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson, and once again, the show really throwing me for a loop. Um, but I'll get to the the loop in a second. First, I'm going to talk about the whole story with Luke and Jessica. What's going on with them? I like what they did. They almost went the cliche route the whole way, um, but they didn't. What I'm talking about cliche. A lot of times, you have a character who, Jessica killed his ex-wife. Anytime a character has a secret like that, they're the ones behind whatever this other character is dealing with, um, they tend not to tell them, even though they have several chances to. And if she had told him the first time when he asked about Kilgrave, things would have been okay, you know. And exactly what I thought whenever she finally did tell him. And leading up to that was pretty cliche. She's not telling him. She has several chances to tell him. She doesn't tell him. Uh, I'm sorry about that, man. Vanilla Coke ruining my reviews. But she has several chances to tell him, and she doesn't. This girl that he's helping her find her brother, has information about the ex-wife. Of course, it has nothing to do with Jessica. The driver was drunk. The driver of the bus that hit Kilgrave, and apparently the ex-wife was also. Um, Apparently, the record said that she had been killed in the accident too. um, but apparently, the driver was drunk that night. And so when he finds out, he goes to kill the driver. Jessica, of course, feeling guilty, goes to stop him and tells him, "No, I did it. I killed her." And I was really worried that he was just gonna, you know, be mad for a second, but then let it all out, and then they were gonna be okay. But no, that did not happen. And I should have expected. I was really hoping this is the way they were going to take it, because it makes it so much more interesting now. Because he's not mad that she killed her. He knows that Kilgrave is real. He knows what Kilgrave can do. He knows that Kilgrave did or made her do horrible things. He's mad because she went and slept with him, and then did all this stuff together. But the main thing why he's not forgiving her right now is because she could have told him at any time. But if he hadn't found out about this bus driver and tried to go kill this bus driver, she never would have told him. And that is what really gets to him. And honestly, that would, as a regular human being relating to the character in the show, I completely understand that. If somebody was being mind controlled, if mind control exists, if somebody was being mind controlled and was forced to do something awful by another awful human being that affected me, yeah, I'd be upset, but I'd know it wasn't their fault. But if they hid that from me, they got close to me, and they were never going to tell me, that you can't trust that person. And that's how he feels now. He thought he could trust her with anything, and now he knows he can't trust her because she lied to him. It was more of an omission than an actual lie, but still, it does hurt him. So that was very well done. I like what they did with that story. I like where this is going. It's not just a completely romantic entanglement. There's more there. There's connection. There's a bit more drama going on there. But also in the drama department, you've got Malcolm. He's still recovering from all of this stuff. I'm just going to talk about the last scene because it pretty much sums up everything he's going through right now. He goes to one of the meetings. It's like a support group for people who have been victims of Kilgrave. He finally goes to sit down and talk about it, and the thing he says is just it's exactly what would scare me in a situation like this. He said, I don't know. The worst part about this is who I am. You know, what Kilgrave did, it made me into a liar, a thief, a drug addict. But was that was that all a result of what he did, or was all of that deep inside me, and it's just who I am now? And that would be terrifying. You know, just to imagine that as somebody comes in and takes control of your life and how you are after that fact, is that just because of that person? Is it their fault? Or was this just who you were the whole time? It was just deep down inside you and they brought it out of you. And that's scary to think about. That's pretty much all there. Hope, bit more stuff with her in the prison. This girl like beats the crap out of her, so she goes to the hospital. Come to find out, she thinks that she's pregnant with Kilgrave's baby, and so she wanted this kid, just killed. But she said she could feel it. Um, she said she could feel it inside of her, so she knew that the beating didn't take care of it. So I guess she gets some help from Jessica, gets a pill that will kill it. And interesting tidbit. Jerry is watching over her, and whenever she's like going through this intense pain that's killing the fetus inside of her, Jerry tells one of the nurses, whenever you get the fetus out, send it to a lab at this address, and hands her a piece of paper. I don't know what that is. I don't know if she wants to study it for Kilgrave's DNA, maybe, or I don't know what that is and what she has planned. I don't even know, what type of lab is it. This is kind of mysterious. I wonder what's going on there. But anyway, that was just something that I wonder if they're going to bring back later. How soon? But the main crazy point for this episode was Kilgrave himself again, showing why he is the villain. Right at the beginning, he's in a poker game, and just this seeing this is so bizarre because it seems so natural, but it's not. Like he goes all in, and then one of the guys is like, "This guy's crazy, fold." He's like, why don't we all go all in? And so they all push it all in. He said, "Here's another crazy idea. Everybody fold." So they all fold. And he's like, "Well, looks like I'm the winner." And takes all the money and just up and leaves. And one of the guys like stops him before he heads out and says, "You need to give us a chance to win our money back." He said, "Why don't you see how many times you have to hit your head on that pole before you go through it?" And so the guy just goes over to the pole and starts bashing his head into it as Kilgrave just walks out. And just once again, it feels so natural. Just there's nothing. When you think about superheroes, you imagine supernatural stuff, but this is just a conversation that they seem to have, and whenever he tells them to do something, they just do it. It just is very weird, and but just it really builds a good villain. But then later on in the episode, he is at this house and talking to this Asian guy, and for some reason is not using his powers. Now, I have a theory, and maybe this is supposed to be obvious, and I'm just I'm thinking that my theory is supposed to be revealed later. But I'm thinking because all the publicity on Kilgrave is so big right now, I think he wants to keep this under the radar. Because, this guy comes up to your house and says, "You want to sell me your house for this amount of money," and you accept. The next day you're going to be waking up going, "Why did I do? It must be that Kilgrave guy people were talking about." So I think he avoided using his powers, but all the money he won in the poker game, which was like 1.26 million, Isn't it bizarre that I can remember that number but can barely remember names? I'm more of a math guy, so I guess that makes sense. Anyway, but he gives all of that money to this guy so he can buy the house. And the guy enthusiastically accepts because it's $1 million. I can go buy a better house with this. And so there was a question of why is he doing this. I still think that it's because he's trying to keep it under the radar, away from Jessica's prying eyes, because private eye, she could figure it out. Some Asian guy lost his home. He sold it because some guy told him to. She would easily be on that. And not only that, but Kilgrave's walking through the house and is like feeling for something in the wall, and then pulls away the wallpaper, and you see Jessica age 12 little dash, Jessica age 13 little dash, and it starts to make sense, and then they pull back, and sure enough, it's Birch Street and Higgins Drive, and this guy is so psychopathic, man. I mean, it's really scary how obsessed he is, but it makes him such a wonderful villain to have. He's not the typical Marvel villain. He's not somebody who just wants power and just wants money and just wants control and wants to rule. He's just obsessed with Jessica Jones, and that's it. That's his only motivation. He's doing all of these evil things, and he can do so much more. I mean, there are a couple times when people kind of get on his nerves. There was this scene in the last episode where he was talking to Malcolm, and he was taking all these newspapers, and the guy that was running the stand was like, "Hey, it's not a library. You can't just take them all out." And he looks at him and says, "Grab your coffee. Pour it in your face." And the guy does it and just starts screaming. So he does do evil stuff like that, but only really if somebody offends him, or kind of gets on his nerves. I think that's the only time that he does something like that. But for the most part, he generally just uses his powers to torture Jessica somehow. Whether it's sending people to go talk to her, or making people or trying to make people kill themselves, so she has to try to stop them. It's really messing with her mind a lot. And the final interesting thing about this is the whole sending the pictures to him. It's funny. Well, it's not funny. It's torturous, because the whole point of what she's trying to do right now is she's trying to keep anybody from being under his control, but without even using his powers. He has her under his control. If you haven't realized this by now, this should be pretty easy to figure out. She's under his control right now. And that was very clearly shown when she's at Luke's place. It's 10:02, and she's like, "Crap, the alarm didn't go off," and like rushes into the bathroom to take a picture for him. That's under control. That she was late. He sends her a message saying, "You're late. Don't let it happen again." I mean, it's very clearly his way of controlling her, and I don't know if she realizes it yet. But if she ever does realize it, I think it'll kind of mess with her a bit more. Which it seems to be his whole goal, is just to mess with her, to torture her. Which is weird because he's also obsessed with her. So I honestly don't know what his end game is. I don't know if it's just to completely torture her for the rest of her life, or if he has some end game with her, just make her suffer as long as possible until she decides to kill herself. I don't know what the whole plan is. I just know that for right now his plan is to torture her however he can, and I'm wondering how he's going to use her childhood home against her. So anyway, a lot of good stuff going on. Excited to see what happens next. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.